The silence that saved me. The silence between us that evening was suffocating, thicker than any argument we'd ever weathered. The only sound was the ticking clock on the kitchen wall, each second striking like a gavel. Then, after what felt like an hour of quiet warfare, her voice broke the stillness. "It wasn't intentional," she said, her eyes glued to the tile floor, her tone flat. "It just happened." That was how Elise described her affair. Like a thunderstorm or a sudden power outage. An accident. Force of nature. But it didn't feel accidental. It felt calculated. Like sabotage. 17 years. That's how long Elise and I had been married. We'd built a quiet, structured life. 2 kids. A modest home with a mortgage. Sunday traditions of chili simmering on the stove while bad TV played in the background. We were the kind of couple that spoke without speaking. Least I thought we were. She had been my partner, my closest friend, my home. But now she was a stranger, one who had looked me in the eye every day while hiding another life behind hers. I didn't discover the affair through some cinematic clue. There was no lipstick-stained collar or whispered phone call in the night. Just a growing absence in her presence. A disconnection I couldn't explain. The way her hugs started feeling like formality. The way her laughter no longer reached her eyes. So I asked her one question. "Is there someone else?" She didn't lie. She didn't cry. She didn't explain. Just silence. But that silence said everything. Oddly, it wasn't rage that filled me in that moment. It wasn't even sadness. It was something sharper, colder, clarity. Because that moment wasn't the conclusion of our story. It was the beginning of a darker chapter one hadn't seen coming. His name was Marcus, a coworker. Some mid-tier executive. The name didn't matter. What mattered was that Elise had made a choice. Not once, but over and over. She called it a mistake. I called it betrayal. Betrayal of our vows. Betrayal of trust. And trust doesn't regenerate like skin. Scars. Haunts. It lingers in every room like smoke after a fire. But the worst part wasn't even the affair. It was the routine that came with it. The smile she wore at dinner. The way she tucked our kids into bed. The forehead kisses. A shared coffee. All while harboring a secret that was slowly burning down the house we'd built. The following evening, she said she had a work dinner. Followed her. Not out of jealousy but instinct. Something in me refused to let it go. I parked down the street from the hotel. Watched her walk into the bar alone. 10 minutes later, Marcus showed up. His hand slid to the small of her back. Casual, intimate, practiced. My stomach dropped. I wanted to believe it was still explainable. But it wasn't. I didn't confront her. I drove home in silence. When I got there, I stared at the wedding photo still magnet pinned to our fridge. Frozen in time. And for the first time I let myself truly feel the weight of it all. By the next morning I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was done. I stopped asking for the truth. Instead I searched for it. In our bank statements. In the quiet corners where people forget to cover their tracks. And that's when I discovered the second betrayal. Money was missing. Thousands. Transfers labeled as consulting expenses. Gifts that never showed up at home, withdrawals to accounts I didn't recognize. She hadn't just cheated with her body. She'd been siphoning our future. When I laid the numbers in front of her, there was no denial. Just a faint, defeated whisper. "I'll pay it back." But betrayal doesn't come with a receipt. And you can't refund the future you stole. "You didn't just break our marriage," I told her. "You broke everything we were building." That night, I packed a single suitcase and moved into my brother's spare room. He called. He texted. Long paragraphs of apology. "I'm sorry. I love you. Please come home." But I didn't answer. Because the woman I loved no longer existed. And I wasn't about to pretend otherwise. 2 weeks later, the truth opened yet another door I didn't expect. I received a call from a woman in the legal department at Elisa's firm. She asked, "Are you her husband?" "Almost ex," I corrected. She informed me Elise was under internal investigation, for falsifying expense reports. And I might be contacted by the authorities. I wasn't shocked. 3 days later, the FBI knocked on my door. They asked about her work, her finances, the clients she claimed to have. I handed over everything I had. Because some betrayals go beyond personal. They're criminal. Elise hadn't just been living a double life in our marriage. She'd built it into her career. A web of lies wrapped around every part of her existence. Eventually, she asked to meet one last time. She said she wanted to talk like adults. I agreed. Out of curiosity more than closure. We met at a quiet park near our old house. She looked smaller somehow. Fragile. I'm working with investigators, she said. I might avoid jail. He nodded. She reached out for my hand. I didn't move. I'm sorry, she said, tears forming. I lost who I was. I looked at her, calm and still. No, I said. You didn't lose who you were. You chose this. Every day. You just stopped choosing me. She cried. She asked if we'd ever speak again. I stood up and replied, no. I loved you once. But now, I love the silence you left behind even more. And I walked away. Not running. Just breathing again. 6 months passed. I relocated to a quieter town, traded the chaos for slow mornings and still nights. I started teaching history part-time at the local high school. There was something healing about helping kids make sense of the past. One afternoon at the town library, I met Dana. Widow. 2 grown sons. A quiet strength in her eyes. We talked about books, bad coffee, and the cracks life leaves in us. I didn't sugarcoat my story. I told her everything. She didn't flinch. You didn't deserve what happened to you, she said. But maybe you deserved what came next. And she was right. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means being understood. So, if you're reading this after betrayal, heartbreak, lies, and all the noise that follows, know this, it gets better. But only if you stop reaching backward. Only if you choose what's next over what's gone. Would I have forgiven Elise? No. And I wouldn't go back for anything.